Na'ama kua mai ka hiki a ka lākou. E a ka pulapula a o Kanaloa. This is the beginning to the chant that we began each day with my last summer when I spent over 300 hours volunteering with the Kupu Hawaii. This was part of their Hawaii Youth Conservation Corps program. This chant asks for permission to enter a sacred space and calls upon your ancestors to guard over you and to give you strength, knowledge, and resilience. This is our way of showing respect to the land and to the people who came before us. Working with Kupu last summer, I learned a lot about Hawaiian culture and how it relates to land management practices. Today, I'd like to share a little bit with you about what I've learned. Throughout my story, I invite you to consider how the story of the Native Hawaiians relates to that of the Native Americans. All of us here who are not of Native American descent are newcomers in lands where Native peoples have resided for generations before us. We owe it to the land and to these people to understand and respect their culture, values, and practices. My story today is centered around Ahupua'a, which is the Native Hawaiian land division system. First, I will describe the physical features of the system and then move on to describe its cultural significance as well as how the land systems have changed since then. Ahupua'a were unique land divisions that went from Mauka to Makai, or mountains to ocean. This is a diagram of what it would look like. These divisions followed the natural flow of the watershed system, all the way from the tops of the mountains in the upland forest ecosystem, through the lo'ikalo, or the taro patches, where they grew most of their food, and then down to the loko'i'a, or the fish ponds, where they cultivated fish for eating as well as sacrificing for their rituals. The reason that they built their systems around the watershed system is because water was the most important resource to the Hawaiian people. In Hawaiian language, the word vai means water, and the word vai means wealth. And this is because water was the resource that created abundance and thriving communities. Each ahupua'a encompassed all of the elements necessary to sustain an entire community. Deep connections with the land, an understanding of the ecosystem, and a take-only-what-you-need mentality have allowed the Hawaiians to develop large populations on relatively small amounts of land. Not only were these ahupua'a practical and efficient uses of the land, they were also very significant for Hawaiian spirituality. This is evident in the Hawaiians' language and stories. For example, commoners of the land were referred to as maka'ai nana. Maka means eye or seeing in Hawaiian. Aina means land. Therefore, the people of the land were seers of the land, or watchers and caretakers of the land. Aina, which means land, also means that which sustains us. This exhibits this reciprocal relationship between the people and the land. The Aina feeds the people, and the people watch over it in return. One of the most significant stories that the Hawaiian people tell about their land and their connection to it is the story of Kalo, or taro. Kalo is also known as Haloa Nakalau Kapalili, or Haloa Naka for short, which means eternal breath. In ancient Hawaiian legends, Haloa Naka was the firstborn son of the creation gods. He was still born, and they buried him in the earth. As they cried over the spot where they buried him, a taro plant emerged, and this became the sustenance of the Hawaiian people. The second-born son of these same creation gods was named Haloa as well. This Haloa was born healthy and resilient, and he is known as the first Hawaiian, from which all Hawaiian people descended. This legend articulates the sacred and familial connection between Hawaiians and the land, as well as the food that sustains them. The kalo plant is the elder brother and respected sibling of the Hawaiian people, and they treat it as it is. These languages and stories are important in preserving and perpetuating Hawaiian culture. Passing them on to new generations cultivates the same connection to the land and allows ahupua'a systems to flourish. However, land is no longer divided this way. Land ownership has been largely stripped from the natives, and urban development has taken over the arable land. After consulting a 2012 Hawaii Office of Planning document regarding food self-sufficiency, I found that Hawaii imports nearly 85 to 90% of our food. This change in the use of the land began when Westerners first arrived and brought their new ideas of the land and land management with them. As an activist, surfer, and scientist, Cliff Capono expresses in the 2016 film Island Earth, documenting current issues facing Hawaii's food systems. The ancient Hawaiians had no concept of land ownership. Owning land and water made as much sense as owning the air that we breathe. However, colonial people had a very different idea about land and land ownership. Samuel J. Paranella describes the Western system of land ownership as having an ingrained notion of exclusivity that is at best an uncomfortable fit with the land management system of the Native people, in his 1998 environmental law article on the clash between Native Hawaiian gathering rights and Western concepts of property. Traditional Hawaiian people saw wealth in the health of their natural ecosystems, but Westerners who came in and colonized the islands saw wealth only in monetary profit. As Jonathan K. Kamakawiwa-Ole Osorio articulated in his 2011 article on the interdependence of Pacific Islanders and their land, we must understand the ultimate freedom is freedom from want, the ultimate security in sharing, and the ultimate power if simply aloha. Despite the changes in the land, many Hawaiians still embody the same characteristics that the traditional Hawaiians did. Some Kanaka Maoli, or Native Hawaiian people, such as Daniel Bishop, are restoring the land to its natural state. Last year, Jeremy Miller wrote about Bishop's restoration of these food systems and land management practices in the Sierra Club article titled Poi Power, discussing its significance in more than just restoring the land, and in regaining the lost knowledge, culture, and values of traditional Hawaiian people. My volunteer work last summer with Kupu was my contribution to these restoration efforts. In a press release for Kupu's 10-year anniversary last year, Representative Tulsi Gabbard stated that the organization is centered around utilizing the lessons passed down by generation in Hawaii to build a better tomorrow, replenishing what we take, putting need over greed, and giving back to our home. I'm proud to have participated in such a program in a time when most youth are growing up without a truly meaningful connection to the land that they grow up in. As Robert J. Cabin so eloquently puts in his 2013 book, Restoring Paradise, in addition to grappling with the more concrete and physical resource management issues, modern conservationists must also navigate the seemingly more esoteric labyrinth of topics such as humanity's relationship with nature. We are all Keikioka Aina, or children of the land. Oftentimes, if we look to our ancestors, we can study their stories, values, and practices to learn how to better preserve our resources for future generations.